That's all of them.
No matter how you feel about The Last of Us Part 2, I think we can all unanimously agree that The Last of Us Part 1 is one of the best video game experiences to date. While I've only played a handful of games which have genuinely made me cry, none of them have made me feel the way The Last of Us does. But is The Last of Us worth playing now, 7 years after its initial release? The Last of Us is a third-person action-adventure game made by Lucasfilm 2.0, I mean Naughty Dog, which incorporates stealth and survival mechanics into its core gameplay. Admittedly, the gameplay of The Last of Us is really nothing special. The stealth mechanics are good, but they really aren't that deep. It basically just narrows down to stay low and move slow, use your hearing ability to see nearby enemies through walls, and throw bricks or bottles if they get too close. The shooting mechanics are mediocre at best and haven't really aged that well. The guns feel weightless and janky. On the other hand, the melee combat is a bit of a mixed bag. While it really just boils down to tap square, the finishing moves are brutally satisfying, and will even adapt to incorporate objects in the environment, such as smashing someone's head into a nearby wall. The game can at times be quite challenging, especially on higher difficulties. The survival nature of the game means that resources are scarce, and crafting is a major part of the gameplay loop. The gameplay is very well paced and is broken up by a series of environmental puzzles. Unlike many games, these are a welcome addition as they never feel tedious and are separated enough for them to feel more like short breaks rather than menial tasks. Where the gameplay of The Last of Us really shines is in its enemy design and its action set pieces. While the runner and stalker variants of the infected are nothing but cannon fodder, the clickers and bloaters are where the fun really begins. To put it bluntly, the clickers are fucking terrifying. They also introduced brand new mechanics to the gameplay loop, forcing the player to adapt whenever they appear. The bloaters are more like mini-bosses rather than an enemy type, and while they do become much easier as the game progresses, I can assure you that you will likely shit your pants the first time a bloater bursts through the wall and gets its hands on you. Much like other action-adventure games such as Uncharted, The Last of Us relies heavily on action set-pieces, all of which are absolutely fantastic. Each and every one provides the player with a tense, unique, and highly memorable experience. The Last of Us is a linear, story-driven game, so it stands to reason that a story-driven game would need a good story to be considered a good game. Thankfully, The Last of Us is one of the best stories in video game history. At certain points, it feels more like a movie than a game. While the premise of the story is much like a generic zombie movie with a twist on the means of infection, its execution of this story is what makes it so special. The world is depicted as depressing and bleak. It's a world where no one is really living, they're just surviving. But amidst all this misery, there is still hope, and that hope comes in the form of Ellie. The relationship between Joel and Ellie is what really sells this game. Watching their relationship grow from complete strangers to adopted father and daughter is some satisfying character development that is rare to find in media nowadays. The story of The Last of Us is one of the most compelling in video game history, and its amazing cast of unique characters greatly adds to the game's charm. The game had me hooked within the first 20 minutes. Well, by hooked I mean I was in tears. It's honestly astonishing how quickly you'll form an emotional connection to these characters. The Last of Us is a beautiful game. Even to this day, its visuals are able to contend with some of the newer releases. Throughout the game, you will encounter a myriad of stunning visuals, each of which are just as memorable as the last. The game also has some quality audio. The guns all sound great, and the thud your melee weapons make when they collide with an enemy's skull is perfect. The noises made by the infected, especially the clickers, can be downright horrifying at times, and on more than one occasion send a chill down my spine. The overall performance of the game was relatively smooth, with only the occasional drop in frame rate. Unfortunately, the AI is a little aged and can be downright retarded sometimes. I honestly could not count the amount of times I walked right past an enemy who was apparently blind because they couldn't see me or my companions. If you're found, simply throw a brick or a bottle in the opposite direction to you and the enemies will mindlessly chase after it like game journalist shills chasing after their paychecks from Naughty Dog. During my roughly 20 hours in this game, I only really encountered 1 or 2 bugs, each of which was just a case of an enemy clipping through the environment. So does The Last of Us hold up in 2020? Yes, absolutely yes. Even to this day, The Last of Us remains one of the best games of all time. Although it may have its issues, it's a near perfect game and is absolutely a must play. Because of this, I'm going to give Last of Us a 9 out of 10. For all those who are disappointed by The Last of Us Part 2, I would suggest just forgetting the game exists and simply go back and play the first one, enjoy it for what it is. Thank you all so much for watching, subscribe if you want to see more, stay safe, and have a great day.